I don't know if in my first presentation I congratulated the Chamber for such a fantastic event, but if you're attending and you do not take something away from these discussions, then I don't know. You're probably still thinking about last night's activities or something. Yeah, this forum, as they would have mentioned in the opening remarks yesterday and some of it this morning, would afford you the opportunity to have some key takeaways to develop your business. Basically, it's a business development forum. Timothy went into the definition of that. I'd like to just add before I introduce you to the next speaker, Tyrone mentioned about benchmarking. And that's a very important word in our world as well, benchmarking against international standards. When you think of international standards these days, you're thinking ISO. I don't know how many of you know, we have a lot of acronyms in this world as well, QMS, ISO, and all of that. So ISO stands for the International Organization for Standardization. Basically, ISO standards are internationally agreed by experts. Think of them as a formula that describes the best way of doing something. It could be about making a product, managing a service or a process. Managing a process, delivering a service, or supplying materials. Standards cover a huge range of activities. Standards are distilled wisdom of people with expertise in their subject matter and who know the needs of organizations they represent. People such as manufacturers, sellers, buyers, customers, trade associations, users, regulators, like the standards body. As the other speakers would have mentioned, I just want to reiterate, they're not only centered around quality management, as most of you know, we have a number of other standards. I mean, you would be hearing a lot of ISO 9001. Tyrone mentioned another few that are becoming very popular in the local community. I mean, we're being asked as a company to give an integrated management system to companies, which includes 14,001, which is the environmental standard, and the 45,001, which is the safety standard. So you have a number of others, like he mentioned, 22,001, which deals with food safety and all of that. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our next speaker, another brilliant young man. Mr. Kris Sammy is going to be our next presenter. Mr. Sammy is the Chief Executive Officer of Exxon Guyana. Under his leadership, the Exxon Guyana team continues to grow, creating more business opportunities and building strategic alliances with the local business community. His role stretches from overseeing Excel's day-to-day operations, to collaborating with his team to develop and implement operational policies and set strategic plans for the company's expanding operations in Guyana. Mr. Sammy worked for over 20 years in business and financial markets as a stockbroker and portfolio manager, and served as a liaison with Canada's largest investment and banking firms. He has been investing, trading, and financing private and public companies in a variety of business sectors whose shares are listed in the Canadian and American Stock Exchange. He has also been involved in financing many public companies with mining operations in Guyana since the mid-90s. As a resident of Guyana, Mr. Sammy has helped new and foreign companies establish profitable local business investments. He's passionate about creating jobs, supporting the local economy, and sharing all that Guyana has to offer to foreigners new to this specific business climate. Mr. Sammy brings the innovation and understanding needed to advocate your goals and bring your business to the forefront with Exxon Guyana. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kris Sammy to this podium. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for that very long introduction, Davey. All protocol observed. Thank you again for making the time to making it out here this morning. As I was arriving, just before 9 o'clock, I see downstairs in the parking lot there was many available parking spot. And so of course I'm saying, okay, probably a little bit early, and this was just like maybe 10 to 9. And of course it was an early start given last night. And you realize that there was all these parking spots available, and I was having a hard time deciding which one to park in. Yesterday when I arrived, it was quite busy. and there was a few spots at the very, very back, so it was easy to know where to get to, you know. And what you realize is that the opportunity that are being presented in Guyana today, given all of the different infrastructure, oil and gas, mining, agriculture, that there's so many opportunity that it's like the parking spot. You don't know where to go. You don't know how you're going to package yourself and how you're going to approach these different transactions and deals that are out there. But like the speakers before me, they've set the standards and they've set the bar so high that I'm going to try and aspire to it. Tyrone, great presentation. We've put together a short presentation. Normally we're accustomed to 10 steps. We came up with 11. Before we jump into this presentation again, I'd like to make some statements on yesterday's presentation. I think the presentation yesterday that the President gave, the various different banking presentations from the different speakers were quite good. And it's very dear to my experience, 20 plus years in capital markets, and being involved in Guyana since the 90s. I am Guyanese. I was born in Berbice and immigrated to Canada in early 90s, so I'm dating myself. And Davey, thank you for putting me into the young category. All right, so much appreciated. And the reality, yes, the opportunity is there. The word that was used quite often yesterday was de-risking. And de-risking is a word that we use in financial markets, in investing and deciding where you're going to invest clients' money, and so forth. The reality is de-risking carry across to other sector, which is what our subject is on this morning, is how do we de-risk ourselves, our business, to meet what foreign companies are looking for. So reality is that if you imagine foreign companies coming into Guyana, and we've gone through this over the last 20 plus years, is that how do we de-risk an operation in this kind of environment, because our stakeholders are investors overseas. They're concerned about the local environment, the local risk, and how it impacts that company and the bottom line for that company that's operating in this sector. So all of the subjects here, and in terms of de-risking ISO, is to de-risk your operation, but from a foreign company, from a company who's your client, from their perspective. How do they see your business? So our presentation is around that. So our staff at our crew and team members at Excel, we have a very dynamic group of I would say team members, 25, somewhere 25, 30 folks. They do amazing work. What we've looked at in terms of our own structure is ensuring that we have the right person doing the right job. And a lot of our marketing, we have a great marketing team, as we do have a great procurement team, a great recruitment team, very categorized in business unit, marine unit team that handles these businesses across the multiple sector, very experienced in those. So the presentation this morning was put together by our marketing team. Shazim Ali is here, and Terrence Walker at our office. They do fabulous work. So a lot of what we see out in the newspaper or online, it's our team here, and we have a small group in Florida that assists. So we're going to jump into this here. In defining how you're going to approach and build your business, of course, it's identifying who's your client. In my days as a stockbroker, in the late 80s, it was at that time was a real hustling type mindset. We're hustlers, right? And when I say hustlers, this is, you're young, you're in your early 20s, you're looking to build a clientele, You're looking to attract investors to open accounts at your firm. And essentially, we start with a list. We put together a list of all our targets, who is going to be our clients. Typically, the firm would have you start with a phone book. You start at A and you cold call. Then you move on to that and you do a little bit of door knocking because you're looking to build your business, build your client's asset, attract money to the firm. So essentially here is defining the client. So if we look at defining the client, it's important to know which companies you should target. There's a great deal of economic boom that is propelling by the oil and gas sector, but that doesn't mean that your company has to compete to serve Exxon. Through the growth of Guyana, every industry is in need of local partners to provide banking, accounting, supplies, engineering, etc. You should find the company that you're most equipped to serve. Again, my experience here from 2010, arrived here to do financing for Oh My Gold Mines. That's where it started. We were the financing firm to bring that mine back into what you see today in the newspaper. And the reality is that meeting companies and businesses and Guyanese, it's not far-fetched to say everyone that I met could do everything. You meet a guy for the first time at Pegasus, and whatever it is you want done here, they could do. And I thought that was amazing because you have such skills here that you could cover all these different avenue of services that we're going to need coming in here to advance this project. And we know that's not the case, right? So identifying the client and identify what it is you want to do, that is foremost key. Researching the client, review your internal business structure, what makes a company more appealing to invest in. From my experience in capital market, I can tell you that large corporations are looking to de-risk. De-risk their investment. As a small business, you need to assess your internal system and structure to see how you can most effectively reduce the risk that an international partner might make in working with you. Make sure you can deliver the service that you say you can deliver. I think that is so important because in our business at Excel, as we establish local partners, this has been a huge undertaking for us in meeting businesses that we do want to bring into our channel to provide business to, is that to deliver what it is you say you can deliver. Ensure you're properly registered and in compliance. One of the measures of risk that international business consider in partnering with local firm is their registration. Make sure you are properly registered and include your registration paperwork in any of your qualifications to tender and response. Right? Registration is important. Part of our process in assessing businesses that we're going to partner with is we have our own partnership questionnaire, which we've put together over a period of time from dealing with international companies, that we have to, it's about 20 pages that you have to meet in order for us to partner with you. Because it's just as long as a foreign company, whether they're from Brazil, from Mexico, from Canada, from the US, questionnaires that we have to go through before they'll partner with us to access potential here in Guyana. Build the right team. We talked about that. It is so important that we're not, me as a business owner, an entrepreneur with Excel, I'm not looking to hire and work with team members that are like me, right? So we're looking to attract the right persons, whether it's marketing, whether it's in the various different divisions, that can deliver that job. That is important. And that right person may not be your family member. You know, that's a big issue, because we have to hire the people that will help us grow the business and do the right thing to satisfy our clients. You know, so ultimately, that may not be your family member. And I think that's something important to keep in mind as you're doing that. The right team, creating strong brand and appearance. Again, these are just simple subjects. Many of us here, again, micro business, small business. We're looking to grow our business. We're looking for financing. As the president said yesterday, I probably said it about 50 times, is the glass half full or it's half empty? You know, we are in the camp, it's always full. The opportunity is there. How do we need to package our goods, our service, our business to go for the opportunity? Creating brand, from logos to your business card, to customer calls, digital exposure, your brand and appearance in the community matters to potential client. It is important to think through the experience and make sure that you are seeing something consistent and professional that is accurately reflecting your culture in your business. In capital market, trust me, in capital market, what is Canada, US, you know, investment banking firm aspire to be, you want to be the Goldman Sachs, you want to be the JP Morgan, because these were brand that stood out, that if you aspire to be like these brand, you know, there's a de-risk, there's an appearance of de-risking. The reality might be quite different, but there's a de-risk from an investor, from a client standpoint. Promise wisely, as we say. Every advertisement, every proposal, and every offer that you make to deliver a result, it is important to not undersell yourself. I think that's important, but it's equally important not to oversell yourself. Make sure that you can deliver the goods and service that you promise. Our next topics, our next subject here is forget the old-fashioned way of doing business. In business, you must adapt to new ways of risk. If you want to grow or simply can't do business in the same way you always done business locally, you must look for ways to streamline, systematize your service. This helps you with recruiting, retaining more talent. It also helps you to stay competitive in the global market. The old-fashioned way, again, here we're working through a client. Think of it from a client's perspective, right? At the end of the day, is our client a Guyanese business, or is our client a foreign company? Exxon, Halliburton, companies in infrastructure. So if we're packaging our business, our goods, or services to the foreign company, it's important that how it appears. And that's been foremost in terms of how we've put Excel together over the last 3 years. And we are pre-oil because the structure of the company came from 10 years of work that we've done, services that we provide in the mining sector. It's really transferring what we were doing 10 years ago through the mining sector into what we're offering today, and then broadening that. The final for raise your standard with ISO systems. I think that's been talked about earlier. David had alluded to that also. It's not necessary that we're small businesses. When we look at the cost of the full ISM system that we've, Davey, gone through, ISO 9001, ISO 45001, ISO 50001, you know, and the reality is it's a very costly process, along with the work and so forth that had to get done, the administration to put those systems in place. But one of our goals was to be the first Guyanese company that carry that flag. That was one of our goals, was to be the first Guyanese company to carry the flag, so we could say that we are the first company to achieve this objective. And with the help of SGS, you know, we were able to achieve that through a long process and costly process. The reality I've never, in my many years in banking and so forth, the word of ISO and ISM and so forth weren't words that we used in communication. We would naturally assume that, you know, we can trust the man, he said he can do this, and we did it, right? It was a different environment. Here, the ISO, I felt, was maybe where there's such a focus on it, but, you know, we had our own systems in place, regulators, regulatory investment, the SEC, the OSC, that are ready to pound on you if you're not doing it right or if you breach the rule. You know, so we have our run-ins from here and there because you're trading in the markets. It's a risky environment. But the framework was set by the regulators here in terms of having proper management system, ISM, ISO, and so forth. The framework is set. So we can present to our client that if you do business with us, you are de-risking your operation. When your stakeholders overseas in Canada, US, Europe, and so forth ask you about, tell us about the risk you're taking in Guyana, you can point to the businesses that you're dealing with here and say, okay, these are qualified businesses, they're ISO certified, and we're de-risking our operation. So the takeaway from, I would say from our presentation is very much client focus, build capacity through partnership, a big key in successes, I think, here. Recognizing that we don't have capacity. Partnerships with international firm, the capacity building, not only with international companies coming in, local businesses. We are always on the hunt for local businesses that we can partner with. Okay? That's my infomercial. And always up your game. My final point, always up your game. You want to be the one that they do business with. Client focus, the way you speak to them, the presentation that you give to them, the appearance that you give to them. I think these things are incredibly important. We are currently involved in some tender with some very large international company, and I'll tell you that these companies suss out Excel, right? We had several meetings, and essentially they're looking to de-risk their operation here, and it's how we attract these businesses. That having said, Davey's given me the hook. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.